All right, what is up, cyber traders? Welcome on back here this Wednesday afternoon, November 24th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And the first thing I did to begin this afternoon meeting was check social media. I'm good to go across social media, Facebook Live, YouTube, first time this week. So I'm happy about that. Great to see all of us otherwise. And as usual, inside Cyber Group, Phil, Jeff, Norman, Deb, Dave. Dave, who just picked up just over $4.50 per share. Now, mind you, of course, that was across a few different positions, David had said, between the halts, but he just made a huge profit just now on my Lagavulin trade. And of course, not Lagavulin, long ever. And LGVN, beautiful catch from David. Great to see all of us otherwise, though. And without further ado, let's hop right into it. We have class to finish up for this month's Phase 1 stock course later on today at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So I got to be quick, so I apologize for talking a little fast. But LGVN to begin, easily enough. We'll start by putting this on our watch list. It's continuing to break all-time highs. At least here, this last run up, I don't think it officially broke the all-time high. So let's just check from earlier today. High of 34.90, and then just right here, fell a few cents short, 34.68. So still the high, the all-time high, 34.90 from earlier today, and we'll see if this can just keep going, right? So otherwise, we'll go right from top to bottom. We'll briefly talk about Bitcoin to a degree. Not a whole lot happened in Bitcoin, but a lot of the other altcoins are still dropping off, taking a big correction. So we will briefly talk about that. But otherwise, let's go right from top to bottom. And now it looks like the BFRI stock's starting to wake back up a little bit. Man, this thing took a huge hit. So as you could see from pre-market, we ended up doing really well on this stock. It was actually much like the one from yesterday, the KTTA. Very interesting to see these new IPOs come out that are so inexpensive because, we talked about this just, from Traders Talk earlier this week. Once we happen to see a stock break all time highs, at least according to the charts, there's no historical ceiling to work off of. So thankfully, in the case of BFRI, this allowed the stock a much greater ability to run and roam up. Now, of course, you could see here by the time the market did open, well, it kind of chopped around and then died off for a little while. It ended up holding over support pretty nicely right off of 520, 525 area. And from there, it ended up just beginning to pop up for us heading into the late morning, the early afternoon. So, we did pretty nice on this stock, at least from pre-market. The late morning, the early afternoon, it continued. But once we happen to see this stock make a false breakout, if it's not going to hold strong, then otherwise, you got to assume that there's only one other way the stock's going to go. What I mean by that is, hey, we had a false breakout over 7. Why can't this stock keep going? Well, hey, if it held strong to that level, made another higher low, made another crack at the level, well, perhaps you could have had a very similar pattern as to what we had here. But obviously, that wasn't the case. Ended up completely reversing from that point, made a 2 point drop, if not more, down under 5. So for the afternoon, don't get me wrong, this stock's, tradable in the sense of volatility. If it had a 10-15 cent spread, I wouldn't say that. But liquidity is still pretty decent out there on the order book for this BFRI. I just feel like this stock already made the majority of its move. So, I'll come back to this if I utterly need to. But, hey, just take one look at KTTA. Again, that was the cheapie from yesterday and the day before that made this big pop and run up. Well, look at where it is today. So these runs are eventually going to die off. We know that. So that's where I say with BFRI, it already popped and dropped. So can it make a 50-cent pop going into the afternoon? I'm sure, but that's not really what we're looking for at this point on this trade. All right. So BFRI, we talked about LGVN on our list here for the meantime, and we'll keep it going. We got a bunch of warrants and other, class types of stocks. So I will kind of just jump to the, what is it, BENE trade. Yeah, this is the equity that we ended up calling out. This was really back from the end of October where it ended up making that huge pop and drop. So it practically did the same thing here today and really just within the course of an hour. So BENE is the main ticker. I think there's the R stock, there's the warrants for that there on the gainer side. So they're going to move with the stock in general, but that BENE is not going anywhere now. So we'll pass. All right. Well, OCUP. OCUP was an awesome trade today. I mean, it was a phenomenal short, more so than anything. We were talking about that in the cyber group room after 8 o'clock. It ended up making a lower high from a big price point that we were following at $6.20. From there, I mean, as you could see, came down, but it only kept dropping going into the late morning, the early afternoon. So took a little while, but once it finally ended up breaking below the major support, it was $4.60 there at the time. Once it broke 460, all bets were off. So it ended up dropping back down pretty nicely. For right now, it's like similar to the BFRI in the sense of, hey, it's up big still. It made a big move. It's trading a lot of volume today. Liquidity isn't terrible, decent spread for the meantime. I'll come back to it if I need to. At least this stock is still shortable. So if it ends up, continuing to drop, that would be the better play in my eye. But I'll come back to this at the end. All right, we keep it going. WTRH ended up making a pretty nice pop right before we started this meeting. And, hopefully we see this continue pushing up. It would be hard for us to not put this stock on our watch list here. So we'll do just that. WTRH. For right now, any icebergs on the ask here? I was going to say 19,000 here, but this is a lot bigger at 128, 151,000 plus share order on the ask at 128. So, if this thing wants to, continue pushing up, it really has to break over that level first, or, maybe we see this get pulled, who knows? But if anything, it has to break over 128 pretty convincingly first. All right. Let's see what else we got here in the meantime. LOV, Game, all of these stocks we had at least looked at earlier today. Game, I think we even had on our watch list, but this one was kind of all over the map too. Ended up making a bit of a pop going into the morning, ended up consolidating, and at that point you would have thought it would have died off. Well, it ended up making another one or two more pops here. Very wacky stock. So, at the time where it popped here, you're certainly hoping for a continued move up, but clearly we haven't gotten that yet, and it doesn't seem like we'll be able to get that at all right now. So we keep it going. Grom, GROM, a familiar name for a few of us inside Cyber Group. We ended up trading this back in the end of September throughout October, on and off. You can see on the daily chart there, those big green bars, and ended up making a nice move earlier today, but not a whole lot happening now either. PALT. It looks like it's trying to inch back up. That seems interesting, but the volume is like so thin right now across the last 10, 15 minutes. We had a couple of big spikes of volume earlier here, but I don't know. Not really catching my eye right now. I feel like I could say that for a lot of different trades right now at this point heading into the afternoon. It's the day before Thanksgiving, right? So you can't force anything out there. Last couple of hours has been a bit of a drag outside of the Lagavulin. But let's see what else we can get. NNDM. This one was pretty active in pre-market, and we did miss a decent little run up on this stock after the market did open. But I don't know. Just seems like it's trading the usual way that it does at this time of the day. I was actually pretty excited to turn right back to ATER because I left off on this stock probably right here, and I thought there was a chance we would see it even push up higher by the time I turned over to it, but obviously not the case. Ended up completely pulling back down. I mean, hey, it's tradable. To see it go all the way up, all the way down, I like the range that it has, good volume on the book, all of that stuff I like. But how likely is it to see this stock pump all the way back up to the high 628, then pop and run higher? I think it's very unlikely. So I don't know. I'll keep going, see if there's anything else otherwise that looks better in terms of a general trend, or at least a stock that's closer to its highs. Familiar name, kind of familiar name, VTNR. We ended up trading this stock. You can see back here. So back from late May, early June, we ended up trading this stock. It was actually shortable back then, like it is today. Hey, it's near the highs, right? So this is kind of what we were looking for, right? VTNR. Why not? For right now, at least. All right, I think that just about wraps it up on the gainer side here, folks. Let me just hop over to the losers list here, see if there's anything looking just as good, if not better. QLGN, KTTA, VLON, all of them. What goes up comes back down. So, at this point right now, not really that keen to trade any of these. The JWN Nordstrom trade, I don't know if that's showing signs of life on the way down. It's like very flat here, but it is kind of close to the lows, right? Just about 6 cents away from the low of the day off 22.50. So with that in mind, it's hard for me to not put this on our list. Hopefully it ends up retesting that low, breaking much lower, and providing a good short. Also, just looking at the weekly chart actually for Nordstrom. So it does look like this stock's been taking a huge hit. I know that Fausto commented on that when he did the morning meeting, talking about just the stores versus the online business, right? But it seems like this stock has taken such a hit. It's fallen down towards support that we have from the weekly chart. Looks to be right around 22, 21.94, right around there. You could see back from early to mid 2020 here. So even if it does break below 50, well, your next support level is going to be right off that 22, that 21.90-ish, that 22 area. So we'll see what happens at that point. But for the meantime, yeah, we'll keep this on our main list. All right. Then otherwise, unless if the market's tanking, to which it's not really, I wouldn't really expect for there to be a whole lot on the loser side of the list here, right? Got some stocks actually that are easy to borrow, but I don't know what the charts look like. And these are stocks that normally don't trade a whole lot of volume on a day to day. So I was pretty reluctant on turning over to like MNOV or Plan. They don't look that great. What's this? GPS, my Gap trade. So I guess going with Nordstrom, Gap, probably off. Bad earnings as well. Yeah, I mean, if I put Nordstrom on, it would be hard for me to not put Gap on GPS or making the same move. All right, folks, let me know if there's anything else that I missed up, down, left, right, more than 5% that you would want me to check out. Just type it in the chat board, if anything. And then in the meantime, as you look to do that, I will briefly just show Bitcoin for right now. Not a whole lot happened over the last 48 hours. Little move up, little move back down. And really, from where we left off, this was practically it. My 6-hour graph, I was saying, on this exact bar to see it pop all the way up towards the 200 EMA chart, go all the way back down, and then it ended up opening up a lot lower. I was telling you folks right at that time that it's not looking that great. I think that we could still see this continue to pull back more at that point. Well, so far we haven't had a whole lot happen since, just a little chop up and down. Clearly hasn't made a big pop back up yet. So, I think there is a chance at this point, unless if we have some news come out, which we really haven't had of late, it's to say at least, if it's not going to break higher, wouldn't shock me if this comes closer towards the 500 EMA on my 6-hour graph. And the reason I say that is because, well, I mean, when this whole run started back from, early to mid 2020, the 500 EMA here was holding pretty damn nicely as a long-term support before it, pushed up. So it ended up pulling back there here, crashed completely below it here and took off for quite a while. Well, when it began to push back over the 500, it used it as support, but it crashed below it briefly. Is it possible for it to crash back below the 500 again? Yeah, I mean, anything's possible. I think at this point, if we're looking at a clean bull run over the next 6 months, and the keyword there is if at this point, but it's to say, I'm thinking that at least we see this pull down and touch the 500, not to say crash below it like it did here. Maybe it just kind of kisses it, then pops right back up. The reason I think that's possible, well, look at the daily chart. And this is what I showed a number of months back. Let me get rid of these straight trend lines that I drew from the last time. Sometimes you just gotta simplify things a bit, right? To see this push all the way up on the daily, it was overextended over, any moving average. But it's to say, at least by the time this came back down, when everyone was freaking out, worrying, myself included, just had to take a step back and realize, well, let's just see what happens at the 500 EMA here. It hit it perfectly and bounced right back up. So, little food for thought. I mean, if it's not going to break higher coming up, and if it hasn't since when we last did this meeting, we might get the touch of the 500 here and then the slingshot. So I haven't bought since, or I haven't bought since last week, and I'll let you know when I do buy. But it probably won't be until either A, we have a higher low, or if it ends up pulling back more, then I'll probably buy right off the 500 or near it. All right, but otherwise, as I was saying before, a bunch of the other altcoins, cryptos aside from Bitcoin and Ethereum, been taking a huge hit. A couple maybe are pushing up nicely, but Cardano, for instance, my ADA, not looking that great. It's been pulling back pretty sharp over the last 48 hours. So if you're following a crypto like Cardano here, in terms of potential support, and I know this just from watching it over the last year. So 148, 149 itself was a strong top. So if this keeps dropping, perhaps we see 148 hold as a nice little support level there. Nice little support level there. All right. From Mike, he says LCID just made about a 50-cent pop. Not surprising for a 50 cents or $50 stock. So I'm not as keen to put it on the list, Mike, if you're already in it. I'm sure you're doing probably all right, but a little expensive. How many shares are you going to trade this really on? That's the question. So, unless if you're making dollars per share, I just can't justify trading a more expensive stock. I would only put it on if it was like really making a hell of a push, like the Goblin here. And this one's damn near untradeable, pretty much, right? VXRT slowly pushing up. It is. It is. Again, not really that much to write home about, aside from the fact that it's at the highs. So I appreciate that. Just I don't know. I feel like we could find a lot of stocks that look just like this that are tradable, that might potentially, maybe give us a chance. I don't like any of those words. So, that's where I say at least I want to start off on stocks that I feel more confident on. Even the damn WTRH, this thing became a stinker since we started looking at it, right? I may even scratch this off our list as well. VTNR, coming back to this, I put it on our list to begin. This isn't looking that great either right now. So I'll tell you what, we don't really have a whole lot to work with here, folks. I see the man himself zipping up. He's leaving the office right now. So it might be about as good of a time as any, unless if you're joining us in class, that is, coming up in just about 15, 20 minutes from right now. Unless if you're joining us in class, might be as good of a time as any to close up shop yourself, because really there's not a whole lot that's catching my eye. Even this damn thing's pulling back down. I might scratch this from our list too, leaving us with LGVN, JWN, and GPS. That's it. I'll take one look at Benzinga Pro. I have no problem giving one last look, seeing if there's anything utterly that we had missed. Pull it up right in front of you. These are all stocks that are at the highs of the day right now. So hey, that could be a good start, but there's nothing here that's like really showing multiple times over like LGVN probably was before. I'll tell you, there's really not much here that's catching my eye. Chuck says late to the party. Been watching G Tech at 7 or at 8, and then at 780. I don't think that popped up on that page there. Let's see. Nah, it's a chop fest. It's a chop fest. Not too interested. BIOC, familiar name, popped up on my little news feed there, my signals feed. Again, you could say the same with this as I said on VXRT, right? Watch this. The millisecond I jump off the mic and close the meeting out for all of us, we'll find some giant pop, right? That's usually how it plays out, right? No, I think that we're pretty much all set though, folks. I mean, really, at this point right now, I'm actually going to scratch that WTRH and the VTNR off the list, leaving us with just three now at this point. All right. Norman says DNUT is flat under 1550. Well, it's up 9+%. I like that. It's at the highs. I like that. It's within our price range here. I like that. It does have thin volume on the book. Not every stock can be perfect, but out of everything else that we looked at so far, that doesn't look too bad, Norman. GOEV up over 6+%. Now we're getting a better pop on this thing. So definitely now over the last 5 or so minutes, this is making a better run. This signals feed is for stocks that are at the highs right now or breaking highs. So there's a reason why this didn't show up yet. But hey, this one definitely great call on GOEV. Definitely going to put this on our list and at the top. And then DNUT I will put on our list. That'll probably be near the middle, maybe under JWN there. Um, but this one definitely looks like it has more momentum to it. We're familiar with this stock. It's approaching the high from last week even. Good. I like this one. All right. So now I feel a little bit more accomplished now, Norman. Thank you for that. I feel like we have at least somewhat of a respectable watch list now at this point. I was feeling pretty bad at first, but I like the GOEV, I like DNUT, and the others now at this point. So I think that we're going to call it. So, folks, for all of us in social media, Facebook Live, YouTube, happy Thanksgiving. Because on Friday, well, tomorrow, of course, we're closed. And then Friday's a half day. So you'll have Fausto in the morning, but then no afternoon meeting on Friday, that is. So this is the last meeting that you'll have of myself. If you have any other questions, feel more than free to send over an email right to my email address, josh@ctutrading.com. Otherwise, if you're interested in joining us live inside our trading room to either finish out the day today or to catch us on the half day on Friday, what you can do is go right down to the bottom of the stream, the link on the bottom of the stream right there below to sign yourself up. But for all of us there right now, Bonnie, Norman, Deb, Chuck, Michael, Gene, Jeffrey, Phil, etc., all of us otherwise, I will talk to you folks coming up in class at 3 p.m. Eastern time. I look forward to it. Take care.